So, when's the last time you had a hay crop like that?
5 years ago, at least.
Oh, did ya?
I think. Yeah.
Who put it up for you?
Always Jason.
Yeah. Does he ever complain about the field?
No.
Like some of those other ones have, like complain about it having too many bumps and
No, he knows where my bumps are. He has done
Yeah.
it a lot. And usually I have put sticks. He has another. They have two mowers, two big Heston mowers.
yeah.
And they both came on Saturday, and they did the first field, the second field, and the third field, all in one
Okay.
day.
Now who's helping him?
His girlfriend, Cheryl.
Oh,
Cheryl. He has a girlfriend that mows.
really? Where does she live?
I don't know. I get here, I guess. And he says, he asked me about the water yesterday, if I knew, where some of it was coming from. It's a little wet, nothing here. And I said, yeah, Michael and I just went on up through the Indians, and I knew where to turn it off, but I didn't know. I can't do it, so we really turned it off.
Yeah.
And then, of course, this morning, first crack out of the box, you have a bull on the road. That's all you need to hear. And RJ just, he hung up. He didn't answer back where it was or anything. But Jim and I went up the road, and I didn't see it. I went up to where, what's his name, used to live in the pink house. I didn't see anything. So I came back, and Jim, we got in the pickup. Well, we went further, and we saw it on the hill. So at least it was off the road. Because, boy, those cars just zoom. That's why I like to have Michael help me, because he watches.
Well, yeah.
He watches so good. And where my eyesight is
Oh, yeah.
limited.
You don't need to be doing that stuff by yourself.
No.
And
I hate to always be asking, can I have Michael? Can I have Michael?
no, that's okay if you.
But anyway, that's how kind of the day went. And then they were there early this morning. They were there by 7 raking.
It seemed like it's too wet to be doing that.
Yeah, but it's not. I mean, it's really drying. And it was ready, actually, yesterday afternoon to rake. But they didn't have all their equipment down.
So this hay must not need to dry like it did, when we put it up loose.
Right.
It must not need to dry that much.
Well, actually, it needs to dry more, because those bales weigh about 800 pounds, and they're smacked in there, and there's no air getting in there. So with loose hay, if it was a little damp, my dad would get the stackers, and he would say, throw salt out, throw salt out, throw salt out. And that's what they did. But there's a lot of hay fires now because of people compounding these about 800-pound bales, And but Jason has on his baler, he has kind of a computer thing that gives the moisture content of the hay, and if it's too much, he's very careful. He doesn't bale it.
Because if it's got too much, it can catch fire.
That's right, and there are a lot of hay fires. Holidays down there, they had 3 years in a row hay fires. And, they just went in and didn't pay attention, and guess what? The fire siren goes off, and there goes their hair stand. So,
Yeah, well, that's real interesting.
Yeah.
So this year has been about as good as it can be with that that rain.
Oh man.
That kept going on through into June.
Yeah.
And then this hot weather.
Mhm.
And now, you know, a lot of times this time of year you'll get thunderstorms and rain that'll wreck your hay once it's cut.
Yeah, really. I remember raking that hay sometimes, so many times, it just seemed like it'd turn over by itself. It was just black.
Yeah.
Just black. You know. But I feel so confident in Jason's ability to not, you know.
Yeah.
So, all of that stuff. There's not been very many deer around today, or out there. Well, Jason said, I saw your pet deer, is what he said.
Oh, yeah?
Yes, he saw.
Now, the other day you were telling me about when you were on the fair court and your horse, was it Laddie?
Mm-hmm.
You were telling, I saw a picture of you and that horse with the other girls. And if you tell me the story about that horse again.
Okay.
When you, how you got him, nobody could ride him, and about how old you were. Just tell me that whole story.
Okay. Well, when that colt was born, Daddy and I went over across the river, and his mother was a buckskin.
Yeah.
And there's this beautiful little pink one. And I asked my dad if I could have it. And he says, well, we'll see. So as time went on, he sent Laddie to Flag Prairie, and different ones rode him over there, and he just run off with them, or buck them off. Just run off or buck them off.
And these were real cowboys.
They were
not the kind that we have around here nowadays.
No, they were real range riding cowboys. So they brought him back, and he'd already cut his foot. He had a bad cut in his foot, but it was healed up. And they turned him loose in the barnyard. And I kept going down there. You know, I was like probably 13. Yeah,
You were 13. So you had your own ideas about what to do about most things, didn't you? Okay.
So I kept going down there, and I'd catch him and pat him and, you know, do stuff with him. And then I was in the barnyard at home, and then I put my saddle on him. He didn't do anything. And then I got on him. I mean, he couldn't go anyplace. And so I just rode him every day around in the barnyard, turned him around, did this, turned that. And so then the horse buyer came around about every year. And my dad said, well, that horse belongs to my daughter. You'll have to talk to her. So I remember he come walking across the bridge, and I was sitting on a stump, and he says, well, your dad said this horse belongs to you. How much do you want for him? And I just said, not for sale, mister. Not for sale. What? He'd be worth a lot of money. I said, not for sale. So he turned around and left. And so I just kept riding him, you know, around and stuff. So one day, I was out in the lower field, and he ran off with me. And he ran through the wire fence, and, you know, we got through the wire fence, across the creek, and kind of up the road, past the house, And so I just
What would make him do that? Why would he run off like that?
spoiled. He learned how to do it over at Flag Prairie with those guys. He learned how to do it. And so I thought, you know, it really made me disgust it. So I just whipped him right out and up the gravel road. We went clear to Betty Stambrook's.
Yeah.
And
That would be a couple miles anyway.
well, that's about like 3.5 miles from home. He started slowing down, and every time he did, I just whipped him, just like that. And it went up there and turned around, and then I ran him back home. And I want to tell you, when we went in the gate at home, his head was down, and he was like, "I'll do anything you want me to do." And so then I had some stake races was the big thing, and I'd get on him, and I had my stakes out south of the house, running around there back and forth, pat him, you know, when it was nice and everything. And my dad, he had fixed a special shoe with a bar on it because he did have a pretty bad scar on his foot, and he always limped. So my dad did that, and we fixed the tack collar. It was a film thing with some foam rubber in it and some tacks, and I just trained him out there. I trained him, you know, he would count for me. He'd say, "How old are you?" And I'd go like that. He'd go like that. And he'd jump up on a blocks of wood. I got pictures of him jumping up on blocks of wood. And, you know, we went to a competition. It was Lazinkas from Pendleton. And I beat them without they had, excuse me, really good quarter horses. And then I just ran down there, turned back, come back, ran down there and turned back. I beat them all. I did. And, so, you know, that's my story with that horse.
Now keep going about the fair and
Yeah.
riding in the parades and that kind of thing.
I rode in, my dad took me to ride in the parade down at John Day, and I got a picture of that. I can't remember the guy I rode with, but anyway, I got a picture of that. And my dad always would take me in the truck. We didn't have pickups and goosenecks. And so I won that in 1952 when I was queen. He took me clear over to Vail to be in a competition there. And that's what that picture is.
Yeah.
So that's my story with Laddie.
Okay, but keep going till the end of it now.
To the end of it.
Yep, you got to go all the way to the end.
Okay, so then it was out in the field, and I kept going out there. You know, I was pregnant with you and going out. So they decided they'd take him up to their place, so I wouldn't be messing around.
And that's, you lived down here, did you?
Yeah, I did.
And they didn't want you riding that horse?
No.
Okay.
So they did that, and my dad took him up to the Reynolds place and rode him, and he bucked him off really hard. He bucked him off up there. And I didn't, then spring came, and I went up there, and I was up to the ranch, and I said, "Well, where's Laddie?" And my mom said, "Well, didn't your dad tell you? He took him up there to the Reynolds place, and he bucked him off real hard, so your dad chicken fed him." And I tell you what, I had a hard time forgiving for that one.
Well, that would be really
I was,
no excuse for that.
yeah.
So in a way, I got to ride on that horse with you.
You did.
Yeah.
You did.
Maybe that's the first horse I ever rode on when before I was born.
It was. So that's the story of me and old Laddie. And people remember that horse. You know, I could gallop him out there in the arena, and I kind of go like this up high, and he'd just stretch out like a show horse.
Wow.
Yeah.
Huh.
So.
Wow. Okay. Well, that's a great story, and you know I got it on film here, so we can look at it again sometime.
That's the way it was with me and that horse, from the beginning to the end. So it kind of goes to show you, I mean, he was a handicapped horse, but I just put all my heart in there on him. He turned out to be really good.
Yeah. Okay, well, thanks.
That's how that went.
GoPro, stop recording.